You can support us by subscribing. In the past day, aircraft of the Ukrainian Air Force carried out 12 attacks on the areas where Russian troops and military equipment are located, as well as 5 attacks on the anti-aircraft missile systems of the Russians. The past day, the Ukrainian Air Defense Forces shot down 22 Russian UAVs of various types. Ukrainian rocket forces and artillery units struck 2 Russian command posts, 3 manpower collection areas, 7 artillery batteries in firing positions, an ammunition depot, and also 2 Russian electronic warfare stations. So how about the rest of the front? The Russian army continues to concentrate its main efforts on the axis of Lyman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka and Marinka. In the past day, about 47 clashes took place in these areas, where Bakhmut and Marinka continue to be the epicenter of the fighting. Most of these conflicts were successfully avoided by the Ukrainian Defense Forces. The Russian army carried out 7 missile strikes and 49 airstrikes using multiple launch rocket systems 81 times. The Russian military once again used the S-300 air defense system to launch missile attacks on Kramatorsk, Druskivka and Zaporizhia, but most of these attacks were repelled by Ukrainian air defense units. In the direction of Volyn and Polisia, the operational situation has not changed significantly, with no signs of the formation of Russian assault groups. The Russian army continues to maintain its military presence in the regions bordering Ukraine. The Russians carried out mortar and artillery shelling on 2 settlements in the Chernihiv region, 4 settlements in the Sumy region, and 11 settlements in the Kharkiv region. On the Kupiansk axis, the Russian army was unsuccessful in an attempt to improve its tactical position by carrying out offensive actions in the direction of Masyutivka. 9 settlements in the Kharkiv region and Stalmakivka settlements in the Luhansk region were under artillery and mortar fire. In the Lyman sector, Russian troops bombed settlements close to the battle line, including 2 settlements in the Luhansk region and 3 in the Donetsk region. Clashes continue in the city of Bakhmut. The other day, the Russian army carried out an unsuccessful attack on 3 settlements near Bakhmut. The Russian army carried out airstrikes on the settlements of Bogdanivka, Bakhmut and New York, but these attacks did not yield any results. 13 settlements in the Donetsk region were hit by Russian bombardment. The Russians, who carried out airstrikes on the Avdiivka axis, except Avdiivka and Vodiana, bombarded 4 settlements in the Donetsk region. In the Marinka region, units of the Ukrainian Defense Forces repelled numerous Russian attacks outside of Marinka. At the same time, 5 settlements in the Donetsk region came under Russian bombardment, but this bombardment was inconclusive. During the past day, the Russian army did not conduct offensive operations on the Shakhtarska axis. The Russian army carried out airstrikes near Prechestivka and Velika Novosilka and bombed 6 settlements including Vuhledar. The Russians continued to conduct defensive operations in the Zaporizhia and Kherson sectors. Russian troops conducted airstrikes near Novopil from the Donetsk region, Malinivka from the Zaporizhia region, and Kizomys from the Chervona and Kherson region. Russian troops also bombed settlements close to the line of contact, including 2 settlements in the Donetsk region, 12 in the Zaporizhia region and the city of Kherson, but these attacks were repelled by the efforts of the Ukrainian Defense Forces. Russian soldiers, mobilized to compensate for losses in military personnel, arrived at a Russian unit operating in the Svatova district of the Luhansk region. It was reported that among the newly arrived personnel, there were service personnel receiving treatment and rehabilitation due to mental disorders. Recently, in the midst of significant losses, Russian troops have been temporarily intensifying counterintelligence measures in the captured settlements. Especially in Yalta, Donetsk region, the number of Russian checkpoints and patrols increased. Representatives of the Russian commander's office in the area reportedly called informants and raided the homes of innocent civilians. If we look at what happened on the front line, Russia is going through really hard times. Both the losses in Ukraine and the lack of motivation of the soldiers have reduced the Russian war effort and become the main reason why Russia is close to losing the war. We can easily understand this from the performance of the Russian army in the Battle of Bakhmut. So what's going on in Bakhmut, the hottest part of the front? According to Yevgeny Prigozhin, boss of the pro-Kremlin mercenary group Wagner, Russian troops fled to the flanks around Bakhmut. Prigozhin claimed that the Russian Ministry of Defense lied a bit after claiming that a Ukrainian offensive had been repelled near Bakhmut before Moscow troops regrouped at a new position with favorable conditions. Russian forces control most of Bakhmut, but Ukrainian troops still hold out in the western parts of Donbas city and have launched counterattacks from the flanks. Despite its limited strategic value, Bakhmut has developed enormous symbolic significance for both sides and has become a potential target for a long-awaited Ukrainian counteroffensive. Recently, the Russian Ministry of Defense claimed that an attack by Ukraine in the vicinity of Soledar, directly north of Bakhmut, was repelled. On the tactical front Soledar, Ukrainian troops carried out offensive actions of more than 95 kilometers along the entire battle line, the Russian Defense Ministry said in a statement. Units of the armed forces of Ukraine carried out 26 attacks, which included more than 1,000 soldiers, up to 40 tanks, other military and special equipment. All attacks of units of the armed forces of Ukraine were repelled. No progress was made. Russian troops were allowed to defend. On the Malo-Ranevka front, in order to increase the stability of the defense, the troops of the southern group of Russian troops took control of the border, taking into account the favorable conditions of the Berkiivka reservoir. However, Prigozhin strongly objected to this version of events, claiming that the gains of Ukraine could lead to the gradual encirclement of Bakhmut. Claiming that Russia's months-long advance has been reversed, Prigozhin said the entire operation from the west to Bakhmut has been going on for 7 months. During this time, we took the Berkiivka reservoir, specifically the settlement of Berkiivka, and proceeded along the Bakhmut-Slavinsk road in the direction of Slavinsk. Now, the opposite is happening. After transferring the wings, there was no tactical retreat. The Russian Defense Ministry lied a little, to put it mildly. The Russian troops just fled from the flanks, he said. Prigozhin has become increasingly outspoken in his criticism of top Russian military figures, including Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and Chief of Staff Valery Gerasimov. Earlier this month, Prigozhin said Wagner would be withdrawing from Bakhmut and blamed the Ministry of Defense for this, but later reversed that stance after more supplies were promised. Last week, Prigozhin, nicknamed Putin's chef, insisted that Bakhmut would be taken. The Ukrainian defenders also praised and commented that the enemy is well-equipped, well-trained, coordinated, and resists with dignity, so we continue on our way, everything shines, it burns. The animosity between Prigozhin and the Kremlin's top officials seems unlikely to end as long as the Ukraine war continues. It is alleged that Prigozhin made attempts to dismiss Shoigu and Gerasimov and to appoint people close to Prigozhin, and that is why he hardened his criticism against these two officials. The truth of these claims is difficult to prove at the moment, but the internal conflicts of... Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications in order to be informed about new videos. Thank you for watching us.